Home brothers. So, addiction. What is addiction? I hear a lot of people talking about, well, uh, whatever floats your boat. You're addicted to meditation. And I say, well, no, that's not a good argument. Addiction, let's define what addiction is and why we don't want addiction. Addiction is the dependency on something outside of yourself that ultimately is harmful to you. And I'll, we have to go by that definition. So let's go down the line here. Is LSD the same thing as having a great meditation session where you have many visions? Absolutely not. It's the opposite. LSD is burning up all of this good karma you have, all of your blessings, burning it all away, and the meditation is lifting it up and creating it from the inside. You are creating this sort of muscle in your mind and your soul, and it can and produce this light from the inside. And that inner light and that inner sound that we keep saying, Om, is God Himself. Now, does anybody get up the next morning and say, "Oh, I meditated too long last night. I feel terrible"? Do we have, cures on YouTube for how to get rid of after meditation syndrome? There is no after meditation hangover. You cannot get hangover from meditation. So these other things will always give you these problems and will give you long-term problems if you have a dependency on them. And so how do you decide if something is an addiction or not? Uh, there are some things that are outside of us, and we might have them a lot. Like you say, coffee. Are you addicted to coffee? Well, ask yourself, are you dependent on it? This morning, are you unable to function if you don't have coffee? For me, I just have coffee whenever I want, and it doesn't seem to matter much. And I'm never dependent on it. I think for the last 4 or 5 days, I've not had any coffee, and I don't seem to notice anything. So, um, but for other people, it might be a stronger reaction, or it might depend on what kind you're drinking, or what kind of what kind of effect you have. And people know that if you add water to stuff, it strengthens it. So that's why pot smokers use bongs. Increases the power of the drug by 6 times. Interestingly, with coffee, American coffee, which is espresso with water added, is also has 6 times more caffeine effect. People think that espresso, really pumps you up, and really not. Espresso is the normal coffee, and it's um, quite mild in my view. When I was in Italy recently, I was having like 3 or 4 cups of espresso a day, slept like a baby. Got home to China, stopped having it, no problem. Um, but American coffee could be considered a drug in some ways. I've heard of some people being addicted to these Starbucks drinks with water or milk or other things added to the espresso, and it might be intensifying the effect. But anyway, that's what we identify as addictions. And so you have to identify some sort of dependency, and you also have to identify some harms coming from it. If there's no dependency or there's no harms, don't worry about it. It's just fine. Okay? Everybody got that one? Alright, Om to everybody.